everybody, today I'm the Fat Philosopher here. I'm bringing you another guitar review. Okay, like always, please remember I'm not a professional guitar reviewer. Nobody paid me to do this. I paid with these guitars with my my daughter's college fund, and basically just thinking this is a dude who owns some guitars and likes talking to other dudes who own guitars, right? But today what I'm bringing to you is Japanese budget-friendly brands that you probably never heard of before. Now, as you know, there's, in America and whatnot, there's a whole bunch of brands, but almost for every brand there is in America, there's like a Japanese brand that only sells in Japan. There's like dozens of them, right? And of course, some of them are kind of like high-end ones, like say Freedom or History or Vola. These are all kind of higher-end ones. Of course, there's famous mass-produced ones like Ibanez and ESP. But also, there's something you don't know, lots of these kind of budget brand ones that you might be interested in. Now imagine you were going to Japan, and maybe you'd go and thought, maybe I'll bring a travel guitar with me. But instead of that, what I recommend you to do is to, your first day you get there, go to one of the many pawn shops in Japan and buy yourself one of these, like one like this. And then on your last day, maybe pawn it off. And you'll have a great playing experience without having the cramped little travel guitar for almost no price. Now, the thing about Japanese brands, you might think, well, I could, is it the same like a Galeri or a Donner or a Firefly? No, the thing about Japan is that a lot of those copyright rules you have in America, that you can't copy headstocks and stuff like that, they don't apply in Japan. So these Japanese brands, as long as they only sell in Japan, can make exact copies of a lot of these famous Gibson and Fender guitars. So, and you can get them at strikingly good deals. Let's take this guitar here. Now, this guitar, this left-handed LP type guitar, I bought this for, wait for it, 70 bucks American used. And when I mean used, I mean this guitar was hardly touched. It's almost brand new. And what am I getting for 70 bucks? Okay, this is a band called Photogenic. This is a brand called Photogenic. I'll throw up a screen of some of their guitars. They sell their guitars new on Amazon and in some pawn shops. The infamously named Hard Off Pawn Shop in Japan, they sell these new as well for about $220 for the Les Paul types. They also have Strat types and stuff like that for a little bit more, for a little bit. They also have Strat types for a little bit less, and they also have like little package deals where if you get a setup and an amp thrown in for about 300 bucks or something like that. But for new, they're like $220, but for used, you can get them under 70, 80 bucks all day long for these kind of guitars. And there are other ones, like their Strat types, those can be easily bought for like 30, 40 bucks all day long for a guitar that's, hardly been used. Because most of these are kind of guitars bought for kids and beginners. They give up, the guitar is still great. Now, let's take a look what I'm getting for 70 bucks. Now imagine you're going to put this against, say, the lowest end Epiphone. Well, first of all, let's take a look. First, I'm getting a tobacco burst, two-tone tobacco burst, one kind of classic type of vintage type of look to it. I'm getting an arch top on that. It's a nice arch top cut. The Epiphone would not be arch top. I'm getting a nice dark fretboard. Not sure if that's real ebony or what it is. It's also got binding on the side of it. No fret sprout on the frets. Binding on the guitar. Painted neck and whatnot. Now this is, and of course it's a set neck, right? So like you could not get an Epiphone for this price. So cheap Epiphone, near this, you're going to have a bolt-on, flat top, kind of an ugly color and whatnot. And as you can see, the headstock is like almost exactly like a Gibson there. Okay, this the brand name Photogenic. If you've seen like a different type of logo, they change their logo like every couple of weeks, I think. I've seen so many Photogenic logos on it there, eh? Okay. The nut is, it's plastic nut, but it seems to work. you know, your standard LP sized frets on it. Got your pick guard. This toggle switch all seems to work fine. Here's a couple other things that I find really interesting about this. First of all, I'm saying, well, what about the pickups? What about them? First of all, they're not photogenic, right? These are wax potted pickups in here. And another thing I like about this guitar, the pot works right, and they're lefty pots. When it's full, it says 10. When it's off, it says 0. Can you believe that? Lefty players all know that the numbers almost never match up on guitars, and they've got righty pots in there. They put actual lefty pots in this thing. Okay. Little sound things here. Let's try it on the bridge pickup. Rhythm. It's a usable sound, right? And goes dirty pretty good. You know, of course, you might want to throw out the pickups, you know, but if you're just like on a travel or something, you're in Japan, you know, hey, you can gig with these pickups here, right? Not the hottest out there, but they work fine. They're for smart, a $70 guitar, they're good. And of course, I just can't go over the fact that they have lefty pots in these things. This is just like one brand here, Photogenic. There's other ones, of course, just like Blitz. I'll throw a picture in here. This is a Blitz actually in a local store. It's a right-handed guitar, so I didn't buy it. Same thing, it's about 70 bucks for this guitar. Nice blue top on it. Nah. Is it veneer? Yeah, maybe, but hey, you know, your fans don't care. You know, veneers only really cause a problem if you get like a good scratch on them and you can kind of see underneath. But otherwise, like, who cares, right? You know, who really cares if it's a top or not on it, eh? And there's, like I said, there's oodles of brands out there in Japan. You know, I throw a whole bunch of list of names of ones I know. Buskers, Legend, Selder. There's one called Morris. There's all these guitar brands that give these all these like on a budget type of names you never heard of before, but they treat it well, and yeah, the quality it's good. Like, you know, I'm not a big Les Paul guy, and I had about 5 or 6 of them, and I don't feel the quality on this is any worse than any of the other ones I've played. You know, I had a Les Paul Studio, played about the same as that one. I've had the AOI ones, it has less scratches than that AOI one when it came in. And I had, of course, Tokai, and Tokai had a nice bright top on it, and I like the Tokai too, but this one seems to be fine, you know. There's no real thing that says this is a cheap guitar really on it, you know. The back on it, don't you? One thing I would say about buying in Japan, so like I said, they buy these. You can buy these new for like, you know, 200 bucks or so. But if you go into the pawn shop, you know how to do a bit of a setup yourself, you can get lots of guitars for like this 70 bucks. If it's like a Strat style, you can maybe even give it less, like 80 bucks or something like that. Very cheap. I don't see many T styles, not many Tele style ones in Japan. For some reason, they're really like S styles and LP styles. So, but I'm sure they're out there, but at least not for left-handed, there ain't any for left-handed there. But it's something to really check out there. Other brands that might be a little bit more upgrade. There's Bacchius, which is kind of famous for some high-end basses and stuff. They also make like, you know, beginner Strats in Japan, and they also used, you know, 50 bucks, 60 bucks all day long. There is ESP, the lowest level of their guitars is Grassroots. And I've had a Grassroots before too, like on a black tuxedo type LP. Now they're supposed to go new for about 600. Often they seem new for about 450. But even used, I bought my used one for about 150 bucks. And you can get a lot of Grassroots that make almost, you know, ESP makes almost all types of guitars from Grassroots brand. They made 5-string acoustic bass for under the grassroots names, everything they got there. And those guitars used, you can often get them well under 300 bucks, often under 200 bucks as well. I bought a V shipped to the guy to Australia, that's grassroots, cost me about $140, that's it. So even yes, and those are all like direct copies as well. You know, grassroots they don't sell in America because they're direct copies. They'll sell, you know, LTDs, which are a little bit, you know, not quite a direct copy. You know, so if you wanted to have, like, you know, for me, I'm not really an LP type of guy. I've had 5 and down to this one now. Why did I keep this one? Because, well, hey, it was 70 bucks and it plays pretty well as any one I ever had. So if you come to Japan, go to one of their many, if you come to Japan, come to many of their used shops. You got, of course, the Hard Off, you got 2nd Street, you've got We Buy Anything. And you can often, like this, find these great guitars all day long. So that's a little short video talking about no-name brands. This one in particular, well, like I said again, was called Photogenic. No-name Japan brands, way better than the no-name one you find in America. Please come and check them out. Salut.